Alright, so for this video, I want to briefly look at the career of Rick Majerus while he was the coach of the Utah Utes, and I do think Majerus was a great coach, but moreover, I also want to talk about the very strange way that Utah, they kept getting eliminated from the NCAA Tournament as Utes fans during the Majerus era may not be too fond of the Kentucky Wildcats. So Rick Majerus came to Utah beginning in 1989. Utah's conference affiliation at this time was the Western Athletic Conference, or the WAC, and right now I'm showing Majerus' record during his first 4 seasons with the running Utes. First item to mention, Majerus only coached 6 games in his first season due to an emergency heart surgery, but came back and did a great job. For the 1991 NCAA Tournament, Utah lost in the Sweet 16 to an undefeated UNLV team at the time, and then in 1993, Utah, they lost in the second round to Kentucky, who went on to the Final Four. During this period, Josh Grant was Utah's best player. The 6'9" power forward was a 2-time WAC Player of the Year. After Grant left, incoming would be Keith Van Horn, and Van Horn was a great college basketball player. I couldn't stand Van Horn and Utah during this period because I really liked New Mexico. And Utah and New Mexico, they were the top 2 teams in the WAC, and they were rivals in the 90s. But Van Horn was an awesome player, and Majerus was an awesome coach. So next, I'm going to show the next 4 years. The 4 years Keith Van Horn was at Utah. So Utah, they didn't make the tournament during Van Horn's freshman year, but go on to make NCAA tournament appearances the next 3 years. But in 1995, the 4th seeded Utes, they lost to the 5th seeded Mississippi State Bulldogs in the second round. Then in 1996, Utah, they lost to Kentucky in the Sweet 16. Then in 1997, where Utah, they finished second in the final AP poll, which is the poll before the start of the tournament. But anyways, Utah, they had the 2 seed in the West region, but lost in the Elite 8 to Kentucky, the top seed in the region. So Van Horn, he was on to the NBA, but Utah, they had some talent, especially a lot of size. In Utah, they made it to the Final Four in 1998 as they defeated the defending champs in the regional final and the Arizona Wildcats, who basically returned everyone from the previous season. I remember in the post-game press conference, Rick Majerus, he apologized to Keith Van Horn that he couldn't get him to a Final Four. Nonetheless, in their Final Four matchup, Utah, they defeated a very talented North Carolina team to advance the NCAA championship game. Now, before I talk about that game, worth mentioning is that the Utes point guard, Andre Miller, was absolutely phenomenal in this NCAA tournament. I don't want to get much into it because I already made a video about Miller's performance in the 1998 tournament, but nonetheless, Utah, they made it to the championship game, and their opponent would be the Kentucky Wildcats. So Utah, they had a 10-point lead at halftime, but Kentucky, they wound up being the team to cut down the nets. And that's crazy that Rick Majerus and the Utah Utes were eliminated in the NCAA tournament by the Kentucky Wildcats in 3 consecutive years, 4 times in 6 years. And that's not a negative because Kentucky, they really had it rolling at this time, but it's just a really strange coincidence. Rick Majerus, he sadly passed away in 2012, and throughout his career, he displayed his humor and had many great quotes. But due to all of his losses to Kentucky, Rick Majerus, he said, "When I die, they might as well bury me at the finish line at Churchill Downs so they can run over me one more time." So since the field expanded to 64 teams, I wasn't able to find this out if this occurred previously, where a team lost to the same team in the NCAA tournament in 3 consecutive years, but comment below if I missed a team. But anyways, what makes this even crazier is that in 1999, Utah, they made the tournament as a 2 seed in the Midwest region. However, in the second round, Utah, from what I remember, they did not play well at all, as Miami of Ohio, the 10th seed, they upset the Utes. Had Utah won this game, they would have played the 3rd seeded Kentucky Wildcats in the Sweet 16, and you know what? It may have been 4 straight tourney losses to the Wildcats. Crazy. Lastly, I'm going to show the final years of Majerus' time coaching the Utes. For the 2000-2001 season, Majerus, he took a leave of absence, and during the 2003-2004 season, which was Majerus' final season in Utah, Majerus retired after 20 games into the season, but then later he'd be back with St. Louis. But anyways, for the 2000 tournament, Utah, they lost to Michigan State in the second round. And in 2002, Utah, they lost in the tournament to Indiana in the first round. And then for the 2003 NCAA tournament, in the second round, Utah, they lost to, just take a guess, of course, Kentucky. They lost to Kentucky. Thank you so much for your interest in this video. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in supporting this channel, there's a Patreon link below. Thank you so much.